Good day, viewers. Today, I'm going to be reviewing this. Possibly the greatest car ever produced by man. This is the 1996 Geo Metro, specifically the Geo Metro Base Coupe. As you can see, it is really beautiful, really excellent. An engineering feat unlike any other. The Geo Metro was a subcompact hatchback produced throughout the 1990s. This one in specific is a 1996 model, based very loosely on the Suzuki Swift, although it had one objective, which was to be cheap. So Geo itself was a brand brought out by General Motors in the late 80s. Basically, they rebadged some import cars and sold them through Chevrolet dealers. They were supposed to attract young buyers, and they did an okay job, especially in the United States. This was the entry-level point. So this one in particular, the MSRP was around $11,500 back in 1996, which translates to just under $20,000 with inflation today. And this is a bare bones, very bare bones car. It is powered by a 1-liter 3-cylinder engine, 5-speed manual transmission, and 0 options. American spec cars did not have painted bumpers. They came standard with silver steel wheels, and they didn't even come with rear defrost. That was standard in Canada. You get 13s. The stock size is 155/80 R13. Frankly, those tires absolutely sucked, and they're impossible to find. So I found these 175s, these good winters, and it has improved the vehicle. But yeah, take a look at that. Beautiful, beautiful piece of engineering mastery. I actually own this car. Why? Basically, I wanted something that was hyper fuel efficient and cheap to insure. I thought that given that it has no options, no electronics, it's super simple, it's from the 90s, that it would be a good car, and if it did need anything, it would be super cheap, and that rang true. But I definitely didn't have to replace absolutely everything on this car. I bought it at 50,000 kilometers, which is like 33,000 miles or something, and it did accomplish the goal of getting excellent fuel economy. I would beat the piss out of it around town and still get over 40 miles per gallon. That's what this car was made for, and this was really the only way to get that kind of gas mileage before the dawn of the Toyota Prius and the Honda Insight and hybridization being kind of widespread into the 2000s and 2010s. And now today, you buy a Honda Civic Hybrid, it's going to get you that kind of mileage or better, and have 4 times the horsepower of this car, and be a actual nice car. But if you wanted 40 mpg in 1995, this was the way to go. As we get more specific on the exterior, it is missing the original Geo badge up front. Couldn't find a good one. Obviously, you don't have power door locks or a keyless remote. You do get a manually adjustable antenna, which has never been relevant to me because I ripped all the speakers out because they were terrible. You get these very simple manual adjustable mirrors. This piece was literally $20 on Rock Auto. You open it up and there's nothing to write home about. You get some nice 90s velvet seats. They're actually fairly supportive and fairly comfortable. I've spent 15 hours in a day in these, and they're really not that bad. You get a little map pocket. You get manual windows. You get manual door locks. Obviously, there's no cruise control. It does come with 2 airbags because that was regulatory at the time. Audio is delivered to the passengers of the Geo Metro via this premium 1-speaker Bose audio system. Very good indeed. And since this is a total base model, it has a manual transmission, but it does not have a tachometer, nor does it have a trip odometer. Air conditioning, don't even ask. I think air conditioning is one of the most unnecessary things in cars. It adds weight. Speaking of weight, this car weighs only 1,800 pounds. It weighs roughly as much as a Lotus Elise. It is ultra lightweight. This stereo is not hooked up to speakers, but it is an OEM Geo stereo. This car actually did not come with a radio from the factory. It is that base spec. You get an ashtray, you get a cigarette lighter, you get cup holders that are adequate for perhaps a Coke can, but definitely not for a large coffee cup. You get a handbrake because you have to. This can serve as a cup holder. Passenger side airbag. Again, that was regulatory as of 1995. I even got the original owner's manual and warranty booklet. Look at that. How to use your 1996 Geo Metro. And how to do many other things, because old GM owner's manuals are kind of hilarious. You have headlights that may or may not work. You have wipers. You have a lovely dimmer for the gauge cluster, and you have the beautiful, fancy luxury of a rear defrost that American-based models did not get. Access to the rear seat on the driver's side is nothing special. You have to lift the recline lever, slide it forward. You get these hilariously tiny floor mats. And all 6'4" of me, indeed, can fit in the back of a Geo Metro. It is actually only a 4-passenger vehicle. There's no space for a middle passenger back here. And I have ridden back here before. It's really not that bad. It's surprisingly roomy. The car is 149 inches long. It's about the same as a Mini Cooper. It's not the worst back here. I wouldn't want to sit here for, 10 hours, but it's usable. It's certainly usable. Again, base model, so you don't have a remote trunk release. But you can fit all the Rock Auto parts that don't fit properly in the back of your Geo Metro. You can also fold this seat down. It is a pretty usable little car, all things considered. But here, under the super lightweight, definitely made of aluminum and not the cheapest steel imaginable hood, is where things get really exciting. This is the Geo Metro's mighty powerhouse that motivates it. This is a 1-liter throttle body injected 3-cylinder that produces 55 horsepower and 58 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if you had a little bit more money to spend, let's say you got a raise at the grocery store, you were now making $6.50 an hour instead of $6, you could opt for a 71 horsepower 1.3 liter 4-cylinder. But honestly, I've never driven one. It's probably a little more fun, but it's more weight and more fuel economies, or more fuel consumption. So this is the way to go. 1 liter, 5-speed, simple, light, ultra economical. It is a timing belt engine. And this is the stock battery. It's obviously not stock from 1996, but it's huge. This is a bigger battery than most modern mid-size SUVs have, with all of their safety features and creature comforts, and this has none of that. Why does it need such a big battery? I don't know. But yeah, this is the engine compartment of the Geo Metro. There's not much to it. And that's the radiator. It's tiny. What a machine. Driving the Geo Metro. Mind the airbag light, minor inconvenience. Mind the wheel bearing as well. Mind the grinding into second gear. This transmission was rebuilt 9,000 kilometers ago. Geo Metros, especially with the 1 liter, are known for that. Is a very common failure point.
Feels like you're running a race, even on streets with 50-kilometer-an-hour speed limits. That's the beauty of having only 55 horsepower at your disposal. But it's a nice manual throttle. It has no power, but it is pretty responsive. The transmission, other than that second gear issue, is really quite pleasurable to operate. It's notchy, it has half decent weight to it. It just feels nice. The clutch is extremely light, as you'd expect in a subcompact hatchback. There's not really a way around that. Obviously the steering is manual. You do not need power steering in a 1,800-pound hatchback. Although, if you did opt for the sedan version, and yes, they did make sedan versions that were a little bit longer and came standard with the 4-cylinder, you could opt for power steering. I still don't see it being necessary. Steering is fairly light, even though it's not power operated. This one in particular kind of has a typical 90s dead spot in the rack. A little bit annoying for a car with such low mileage, but you're gonna run into that stuff with an old car. No way around it. Is the easiest car in the world to rev match. In general, it's the easiest car in the world to drive. There's nothing to it. It's small, it's light. So we'll go over the vital stats again. 1 liter, 3-cylinder, 55 horsepower, 58 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is accomplished in a thoroughly impressive 16 seconds. Top speed is reportedly 100 miles an hour. I have gotten pretty close to that, admittedly, going downhill with a tailwind behind me, so I reckon it is possible. The official fuel economy estimate was 44 miles per gallon on the highway, or I don't know, around 5.3, 5.4 liters per 100. And that is very accurate. I've gotten that before. My record in this car is 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers. That is almost Toyota Prius level. It is over 50 miles per gallon. It is thoroughly impressive. The 40-liter fuel tank can get you over 700 kilometers of range. Try that in any electric car that costs $100,000. Besides the point, but electric cars suck. Otherwise, it's got independent rear suspension. I mean, rendered completely useless with the stock tire size being 155/80 R13. But it's not a bad chassis to play with. Like, ideally, if you get 15s or 16s on it with some nice grippy tires and definitely more power under the hood, it would be a pretty fun little car. Let's see what she's got. Keep your eyes here. When there's enough G-force generated, the e-brake light goes on. There's a slower car in front of me, unfortunately, but some of you might be able to tell this is actually the famed cliche corner from the straight pipes. Great place for a Geo Metro to go. Barely enough power to keep its speed up this hill. Really is not the worst handling car ever, especially since it's on 13s and winters. But that was fun. Let's do it again. avoid grinding that second gear. The dead spot in the steering rack definitely doesn't help, but if it was a little tighter, it would honestly be really good. And again, if it had grippier tires, lower profile, it would be great. It would be fantastic. So if you've come this far in the video, I want to thank you all so much for watching. It means the world to me. I hope you like my Geo Metro. I have some more content planned coming very soon with this car. I am selling it, and its new owner is halfway across the continent. So upcoming within the next month, we're gonna be taking this thing on a 2,500 kilometer or like 1,600 mile road trip. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I also have a video coming where I get a bunch of my car loving friends to drive this vehicle for the first time and get some driving impressions, because it really isn't much like anything else out there, at least anymore. It was kind of the last of its kind. These cars were everywhere in the 80s and 90s with super low horsepower, trying to save gas, lightweight, but you know, regulations have really killed something like this. And there's not much of a market anymore in North America for subcompact cars, unfortunately, because subcompact cars are all very fun, very cheap, very economical, and they're all that most people actually need, but consumerism unfortunately has poisoned everybody to think otherwise. So again, thank you for watching and stay tuned.